I've played a whole lot of JRPGs in my day, and I'm here to talk about 10 JRPGs that I feel deserve a full 10 out of 10 score. Hey there! Welcome back to Shinky JRPGs, or if it's your first time here, welcome. Glad to have you, and I hope you enjoy your stay. JRPGs are a special kind of genre. Story, characters, gameplay, music, and setting. A combination of all of these things make a JRPG amazing, just alright, or downright bad. On occasion, though, you get the perfect combination that makes for an experience that is above all others and worth that fabled 10 out of 10 rating. Today, I'm here to talk about 10 JRPGs that I feel deserve a perfect 10. I will just preface this by saying this is all down to opinion, and this is my personal list. Your list is probably way different than mine, so be sure to leave a comment letting me know which games you feel deserve a perfect score. And while you're down in the comments, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, especially if you love JRPG content. Well, let's hop to and get started with 10 JRPGs that deserve a perfect 10 out of 10. Lunar II Eternal Blue Complete, released for the PlayStation on December 15th, 2000. Lunar II is just one of those games that felt like an instant classic when I played it in the early 2000s. Lunar II just gives everything that you needed in JRPG, a great sense of adventure, characters that you instantly care for, losses that make you tear up, and music that just amplifies the emotions in any given moment. And don't even get me started on the humor. I remember renting Lunar 2 from my local video store and just instantly fell in love with everything it had to offer. Even after I beat it, I would rent it several more times so I could play it again and again. In fact, that's how I got my copy. The video store closed down, and I bought Lunar 2 from them, alongside a bunch of other great JRPGs. This was the first game that I thought of when I thought of a JRPG that deserves a perfect score. Funnily enough, I didn't play the original Lunar until several years afterwards. Lunar Silver Star Story is great too, but Eternal Blue just has a special place in my heart and will stick with me as what I feel deserves a perfect 10 out of 10. Dragon Quest VIII, released for the PlayStation 2 on November 15th, 2005. Dragon Quest VIII initially had me concerned and worried. I was used to Dragon Quest using sprites. I was used to first-person combat. I was afraid of change as I had grown up playing Dragon Quest, and this didn't look like the series I fell in love with. But when I turned it on, entered my name, booted up the game, and saw those cute little slimes chase me down and attack me, I felt the familiarity of games that I grew up with, and I knew that this was an extension of my childhood. Dragon Quest VIII took everything I grew to love and turned it into a beautiful, wide-open world. I stepped out into that open-world map and realized this is a new experience. But somehow I still feel at home. Dragon Quest VIII was gorgeous, the characters were so vibrant and had incredible personalities, not to mention it was fully voice-acted. My faith was fully restored. Dragon Quest VIII is easily a perfect 10 out of 10, and I feel anyone that has even the slightest interest in JRPGs needs to experience this masterpiece, be it on the PlayStation 2, 3DS, or even mobile. Though I would not suggest playing it on mobile given the chance. You owe it to yourself to play through the amazing adventure that is Dragon Quest VIII. Chrono Trigger, released for the Super Nintendo on August 11th, 1995. Chrono Trigger, the unparalleled of all JRPGs. What can I say about Chrono Trigger that hasn't been said before? Chances are you've played this game and already know exactly why it deserves a perfect 10 out of 10 score. In actuality, Chrono Trigger probably deserves a 12 or 15 out of 10, because it's just that great. Chrono Trigger hits all of the right notes with every single aspect, the music is divine. I still listen to the soundtrack of Chrono Trigger to this day because, well, to refer to as anything less than iconic would be an insult. The characters are all so amazing and build off one another incredibly well. The whole concept of time travel is pulled off perfectly. In fact, I can't think of any other piece of media where time travel felt as natural as it does in Chrono Trigger. I didn't get a chance to play Chrono Trigger until it was first released on the PlayStation as part of the Final Fantasy Chronicles collection. which admittedly isn't the best part of the game. Those loading times were rough, and, well, stick with me until the end of time. See what I did there? But I'm glad that I got to experience this game when I did, because it was a game that will live forever in my heart. Honestly, if you haven't played Chrono Trigger yet, you owe it to yourself to play this game and witness the greatness that is the most perfect of perfect RPGs. Grandia, released for the PlayStation on October 26, 1999. If I had to pick one game that portrayed the feeling of adventure in the best way possible, Grandia would be at the top of the list. Sure, you have a lot of JRPGs that focus on the feeling of adventure, but there's just something about Grandia that feels different. You play the role of Justin, a kid who wants nothing more than to be like his late father and adventure across the world for the sake of exploration. I actually recently reviewed this game on the channel, and playing it even 20 years after I did for the first time, it still gave me the same emotions and enjoyment as it did the first time I played it. While adventuring with Justin, Fina, and all their other friends, it just gave you that warm feeling in your chest when you know that you're experiencing a wonderful RPG. Very rarely do you get games where you get so attached to the characters that it feels as if they're your real, actual, lifelong friends. That moment with Sue still chokes me up to this day. Grandia is an experience that absolutely deserves a 10 out of 10 and will deserve that 10 out of 10 for decades to come. Kingdom Hearts 2, released for the PlayStation 2 on March 28, 2006. Kingdom Hearts was a strange experience, wasn't it? Your favorite Disney characters commingling with your favorite Final Fantasy characters. It's a really strange collaboration, but somehow it was made to work. When Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, I wasn't sure where the series was going to go, but somehow, Kingdom Hearts 2 was leagues better than the first game. Combat was perfected, the new worlds were fantastic, and the story? Okay, I still can't make much sense of the story, but I like to pretend like I understand it. Kingdom Hearts 2 just has everything meshed so well together that I can play it over and over again, and I'm always brought back to that time when I was in high school and I booted up the game to be greeted with the song Sanctuary. Remember the first time you died and good old King Mickey popped in with his Yoda-like flips and rescued you? I sure remember my first time, and I will continue to remember it. Thankfully, Kingdom Hearts 2 keeps on coming out on every single console, so it's always accessible for me to play no matter what. Final Fantasy Tactics, released for the PlayStation on January 28, 1998. I will never forget the first time I booted up Final Fantasy Tactics. I saw it in the bargain bin at Walmart for $10. I enjoyed Final Fantasy 7 and 8, so young me figured, you know what, why not? I saw the opening cutscene and thought, this is really different. Why is everything so isometric? And then I saw the battle system. I was so confused, like, why am I moving my characters into range to attack? This isn't the Final Fantasy I know. But I pulled through and realized, this game is freaking amazing. I'm not generally one for heavily political stories in my JRPGs, but Final Fantasy Tactics is wonderful. The way this game makes you care for Delita and Ram's relationship, and then you're blindsided into betrayal, it just hits so hard in the best way possible. Final Fantasy Tactics is quite possibly the best Final Fantasy game ever created, and it's not a surprise that people want a remake of it so badly. I am no different. I'd love to have a remake of this game again, perhaps with more guest characters. Cloud and Balthier were great, don't get me wrong, but could you imagine if we got a Final Fantasy Tactics remake and all of a sudden Clive from Final Fantasy XVI was a guest character? I would lose my mind. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, released for the Super Nintendo on April 13th, 1992. I'm just gonna say it, Link to the Past is the best Zelda game ever conceived, and the best Zelda that will ever be conceived, and that is not an opinion, that is a fact. Link to the Past is one of those games that shaped who I am as a gamer to this very day. It is perfect in every way, the exploration is peak, the music is fantastic, and the whole experience is unmatched when it comes to action RPGs. Yeah, sure, some people will argue that Zelda is not an RPG, and you know what? They're right. Link to the Past is not an RPG. It is a lifestyle that I do not intend on changing. Sure, people love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and while those games are really good and pretty amazing, they're just no match for Link to the Past, and this is why Link to the Past absolutely deserves a 10 out of 10 score. Ys, The Oath in Felghana, released for the PSP on November 2nd, 2010. Ys, The Oath in Felghana is a remake of Ys 3, Wanderers of Ys, that was originally released in 1989 for the PC Engine. Oath in Felghana is just an all-around fun experience. It has great dungeon crawling, combat is the pinnacle of arcade platforming, and the music is absolutely top tier. Seriously, the music is absolutely fabulous. Valstein Castle, for example, it's possibly the greatest piece of music that Falcom Sound Team JDK has ever put together. There have been several re-releases, and it's actually been announced as of the day of this recording that we are getting Ys Memoir Oath in Felghana for the PS4, PS5, and Switch in 2025. So I'm very excited for that. This is just another game that I can play over and over and never get tired of. If you get the chance to play it, please play Oath in Felghana. It's a million times better than the travesty that it was based on. Yakuza Zero, released for the PlayStation 4 on January 24th, 2017. You can argue that Yakuza isn't an RPG series, but honestly, with a level up system, an in-depth story, the most ridiculous of side quests, and emotional moments out the wazoo, it's more or less an action RPG. Yakuza Zero has to be one of the best games I've ever played. It follows the story of Kiryu and Majima in their origin stories, taking place in the 1980s. The setting is unique as well, taking place right in the prime disco era, which apparently was in the late 80s in Kamurocho. Modern day RPGs aren't something that you see all that often, so when it does happen, it's almost guaranteed to be a fresh experience. There's just something about having an incredibly intense main story, complete with murders and betrayals one moment, and then to jump to the side and have a side story where you hire a chicken to run your real estate business the next, alongside some absolutely incredible world building that originates here and is built upon with each subsequent release in the series that makes this an experience worthy of a perfect 10 out of 10 score. Star Ocean: The Second Story, released for the PlayStation on June 8th, 1999. Star Ocean 2 is up there as one of the best sci-fi RPGs ever created. It's honestly just hard to explain what makes this game so perfect, because it all flows into each other so well. The story, the space travel, the item crafting, the way each character interacts with one another, the replayability, and that battle system, everything together just makes for an experience that's unmatched and just beautiful. And furthermore, Square Enix somehow managed to take all of this and make it even better with a 2D HD remake in 2023. Star Ocean 2 is just one of those games that everyone who loves JRPGs needs to play. Sci-fi RPGs are hard to get right and rarely hit that mark, however, Star Ocean 2 somehow manages it with flying colors and 100% deserves that 10 out of 10 mark. There were a whole lot of games that are almost perfect, but had a few hiccups that stopped them from getting that 10 out of 10 score. Here are just a few that deserve an honorable mention. Firstly, Bravely Default. It had that classic Final Fantasy Crystal story with an amazing job system and some of the greatest characters in any RPG. But unfortunately, in the final chapters of the game, it got incredibly repetitive and exhausting, which stops it from getting that perfect score. Valkyrie Profile, released for the original PlayStation, is almost perfect. It's a great retelling of Norse mythology with great music by Sakuraba, and an incredibly intuitive battle system. But the true ending is practically impossible to get without a guide, and it's actually impossible to see all content in a single playthrough, as there are different dungeons locked at easy and hard mode. 9.9 out of 10, but not quite a perfect 10. Then we have Tales of Vesperia. It's a great game, with some of the most amazing characters in any RPG I've ever played, and dark to boot. But the combat and story take just a bit too long to get the ball rolling. Not quite a perfect game. So there you have it, 10 JRPGs that deserve a 10 out of 10 score. I'm sure there are tons more, but these are just the 10 that I think deserve perfect scores. Do you agree with my list? Or was there something missing that you feel deserves a perfect 10 out of 10? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this list and want more JRPG lists and reviews, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single one of my videos. This has been Shinky JRPGs, thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.
Super Retro Force.